Okay.
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 See you on the other side.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put in a couple of boats. Only rough sketch, not. One over there. They fell out with him, so he's on his own. And yeah, going to have a rock there and a rock there. I think that's it. Oh, forgot to mention. If you've got it, we need to put some masking fluid on for the sun. If you haven't, use Dr. Martens white. Okay. Or if you're not, so I'm just going to have my sun over slightly to the left. Fairly low down in the sky. And it's not going to be a circle because I want it to look like there's a bit of cloud coming over it. So this is all by eye. So it's a circle with a lump out. Should have done that to start off with. That's my sun. And then we're going to, the sun's rays on the sea, we will actually lift instead of putting in masking fluid. If you've got a little masking tape dot, you could use that as a sun. Or you can just draw a circle and be very careful and go round it. Or you can use Dr. Martens or gouache to put it in afterwards. It's not the end of the world. So I'm going to use a little bit of indigo. But if you haven't got indigo and you've got bluish Payne's grey, that's fine. I'm going to use alizarin crimson and some yellow, cadmium yellow or lemon yellow. Depends. I might go lemon. Let me have a look. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. There's somebody's not muted. Okay, so that's it. So we're going to make a lavender colour for the sky and out of the blue and the alizarin crimson, and I think we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm just going to make it go. So the first thing I'm going to do is wet the paper, and I'm using a flat brush, but you can use any brush. So nice and wet, no puddles. It's glistening. And we just leave it a few minutes just to let that soak in and then see how we go. And we've gone all blurry. Why have we gone blurry? Yeah, we're back. Okay. Just let me get my light so that I'm doing a Kath Tidbold now. So that see what state of my paper is. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, we're good. I think it up there needs redoing. I'm just going over with a a bit more than damp brush. Whoa, sorry. Just to give it the glisten. And just leave it a couple more minutes. I'm going to take my, not that brush, but a fairly large brush, and I'm going to make my purple. So I'll put that under there. Now I'm going to take some indigo. And I'm going to take a tiny touch of alizarin crimson. I'm going to get that sort of feel to it. So that was just a tiny touch. I just sort of pushed the brush against the alizarin crimson and picked a tiny bit up, and there we are. That's the sort of thing we want. We're going to start off, we're going to make it fairly watery in the end, so it's could probably have a little bit more. There we are, that colour. That's what I'm going with anyway. So we're going to do a graded wash. So full strength of that colour at the top. Swipe across and then swipe down with the same, not refilling, coming down, down, down until you're a little way above the horizon. Wash your brush off. Then grab a little bit of that yellow. And the yellow goes halfway over the horizon and half into the sea. So you've got a bit above the horizon and a bit in the sea. And with a damp brush, just go over that line so you don't really see that line. Move it about a bit. It was damp, it was clean, and I've moved it about. And then I want some of the dark that we had in the sky down the bottom. Don't refill your brush, just come up to meet that yellow. Clean your brush off, dab it on some tissue, and then just blur that line where the two meet. And then we're going to have to leave that to dry slightly. I'll put something on there, right? So I'm just going to make a few lines. I've got my rocks marked out there. You can't see them very well at the moment, but they're there and there. And I'm just going to put in some little lines of the same colour paint that we used around. They're just little marks. Some they curve both ways, and they're just at the edge there to give it the idea that it's water. I've got a big bit here, so I'm just going to soften that off with clean brush, wiped on the tissue and just made damp. I'm going to do that with a couple of these that seem to be a bit on the bold side, but bearing in mind it's going to it is going to dry lighter, so it's not going to be so noticeable. But I'm just easing a bit of the paint away from underneath. Just making it and joining up some of the lines. You can see here by blurring this one, it's made it look like you've got a little wave coming up and you've got a shadow under the wave. That's what you're after in some of the places, but don't do them in all the places because the eye likes to make it up sometimes. There, I think that'll do me. I'm going to stop fiddling on that one. So once you have fiddled, and perhaps softened a few of off and made it look like water close to you, I'm then going to do, we're going to do the colour for the rocks. I've still got some of this colour that I made for the sky and the sea. So, but I want my rocks a little bit of a different colour. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the yellow and you get a mucky colour. Can you see it's browny greyish, if there's such a colour. And I'm just going to get a tiny bit more alizarin crimson. So I've now got a grey colour. It's all in harmony because I'm only still using 3 colours. So the yellow and the blue will make it go green, but you put a touch of the alizarin crimson in and it makes it go grey. Grey brown if you have more of the red than the blue. And that colour will, for rocks, will be absolutely fabulous for me. So it's still very much in harmony. We're not introduced any new colours. Look to see where your rocks you decided that you'd have them. And probably with a bigger brush than I've got, but make sure your bottom of your rocks are flat because the sea will level them out. You won't. And with a larger brush, just water, not too wet, just pull the bottom of those rocks down. Might need a bit more paint just to pull it down so that it gives you a shadow. Because the sun's right, particularly this one, because the sun is right behind it. You can pull them out to the side to give it the idea that it's water. And if you have got a bit of a neutral tint or black, by all means, just drop that in on the top whilst it's still wet. because look to see where your sun came and then lift a bit out, because that's going to be a little bit lighter there. So my sun is coming across there. So that bit of the rock there, I'm just lifting out a bit. On the top, gives you the idea that it's resting on that rock there. And then we'll do exactly the same for the other one. So it's here. So I'm making its shape. This one hasn't got the sun on it. So it's going to be darker. So you can put your bit of black in there at the top of the rock. Make sure you and now with a thirsty brush, which is a clean brush, I'm just pushing that reflection back up into it so that it blends it. I need a little bit more dark colour under there. I've got one rock very dark and one not. So I'm just using a little bit of black just to dot on the top of that rock. It also gives it a bit of texture rather than just painting it in solid. And I'm really not happy with my reflections, so I'm just putting a little bit of black underneath just to give it a little bit more depth. And if you dot it, it gives the rock a bumpy texture rather than just painted. So that's and now we need to leave it to dry. With that same dark mix as you had for your rocks, or maybe even just add a touch of black to it, we're going to do a very small headland. And I'm using my rigger here so that I get it precise. You've still got your pencil line where the horizon went, and just my headlands are always on the right. If you want to do them on the left, then please do. And that's all I'm going to do. Just gently poking out there. And I don't want to make it any darker, and it will dry lighter than it is because it's in the distance. Then we can do some boats once you've done the headland. You could even be very artistic and just put a little line, and lo and behold, you've got a lighthouse. And my line isn't straight. Here we are, one lighthouse. And you could be even more artistic and put a line in there, roof-shaped line. You've got a roof of somewhere. And there. You could even do Sydney Opera House if you wanted. The box just gives the idea that actually that's inhabited over there. Then using the same mix, start doing your boats. Now this boat here is the one nearest to me. So it's a unjoined up V with a flat bottom, then going up to a point and down. And that's all that one is. And you need to do its shadow then, or its reflection. So start off wide as the bit sticking out, and then come down. We're going to do its mast later. This one's smaller because it's further away. Same thing though. A V with a flat bottom, a pointed top. Then do its reflection. So start as wide as the boat and then wiggle it down. And the same with this one, which is even smaller. I'm going cross-eyed. So start as wide as the boat and then wiggle it down. That's a dreadful reflection. So with a piece of tissue, pick it up. All my reflections are going off to the left. That's because I've not got the paper turned as I normally do when I paint. Oh, and then you could put another little one at the back there. And another one even further back and even more tiny. There. That'll do me. I got 5. I'm just going to, where this rock, where this, the reflection of the sun comes through, I'm just going to put a little bit more dark there, not at the top, but on the bottom, because I don't want it to, it didn't cover it up properly. So I'm just putting a little bit more dark on that rock so that that sun ray, sun reflection doesn't come through. That's better, apart from on the very top. And I'm also going to just do a little bit of ripply stuff. So my hand's going backwards and forwards underneath the rock there. Because that's in, there's a reflection there that I want to be seen. And the last thing before, and we'll do do the masts in a minute, is the birds. You can have whatever birds you want. I think I better have ordinary birds as opposed to ducks or anything, because I'm at a funny angle. So I've got my really tiny paintbrush, a bit of the dark colour, and some tiny birds. So starting over one side, do some little very simple shapes. To take your eye from the left to the right. So I've gone up and then I'm bringing it back down. They're only small unless you want pterodactyls in your picture. And I've gone up into the sky a bit. And we now leave that to dry. I'm going to get a little tiny bit of the yellow that we used and go underneath my sun, just to make it stand out a bit more, and then I'm going to blend it in quickly. And just dab it. It's just to make it just stand out a tiny bit more than it did, because I didn't do it in the darkest place. That's fine. It all, sometimes I don't think of where things should be. So and I think, obviously, if you didn't use masking fluid, you will need to paint your sun in using the white gouache. Remember not to make it a whole circle, because you don't always see a whole circle, particularly at dusk. And the other thing I'm going to do, because I can, is just put that line of under the rocks where it meets the sea, because it's a bit hazy. The next, so when we've done that, we will then do the masts. Use a ruler and a fine liner for the masts, bearing in mind which is the nearest. Adjust your reflections, perhaps go over your birds, and then use a rubber to rub out your horizon line very carefully. And that's it.